Hey everybody, Leo from Lights Rolling On, and you wonder why I've got a heat gun. Because today on the BMW 1300 GS Adventure, we're taking off the front fork reflectors. All right, let's talk about the tools and what we need today. So we're gonna start off with painter's tape. Basically gonna use that to mask the fork tube if I needed. I've got a couple rags, 1/4 inch T25, remove these Torx bits for the front fender. This is the scraper. I've got a couple plastic tools that I can pull if I need to wedge that off. Trying Goo Gone today and possibly WD-40. Maybe the key here is this 0.065 or 0.17 centimeter max edge or maxi edge weed eater line. I'll leave all this information in the description box. I'm wearing gloves. My temp or my adjustable temp heat gun, I have an extension cord, and then I use this little throwaway tray you'll see to keep my heat gun off either the table or my garage floor. All right, I already started taking the fender off. We'll get that pulled off and then we'll get going on the reflector. Just be aware, I've already taken the other side off. When I say the screw, this whole job should be relatively quick. The only component will be how much glue we can get off or avoid. So I'm gonna roll my fender forward. That gives us full access. You can see I can kind of walk that around. We're gonna try no heat on this side and see how that goes. All right, I would recommend some gloves, simply just so you don't tear up your hands. So we're gonna try it both ways, one way with and one way without heat. First up, no heat. So I'm wrapping this around my hand. And we're gonna get this behind. And then we're gonna wedge this as we go. And that was quick, left a little bit of residue. So what we're gonna do for that, the goof off. So we're gonna try goof off and WD-40. So I've seen it done both ways. I'm not a big fan of spraying things on my suspension brakes or brake pads. I'm using Goo Gone. I'm gonna saturate my rag a little bit. The key here is I wanna saturate the double-sided tape. So I probably will do this in a couple events here to get it. So I'm using about that much on the rag. And the idea is just to get that whole area. So we'll fast forward through here and cut to a few minutes later. But what I'm gonna do now is just basically get some dwell time and gum up this so we can scrape it off. So if you've ever felt on the fork, when they machine these, because they are aluminum, there's a groove. I'm gonna try to take it off in the same direction as the groove. So we'll see if that got a little bit of glue off already. Using the handy little plastic scraper to avoid scratching my forks. I had a bunch of stuff you saw on the table, tape, and in case we had to tape this off, but the lower portion of the stanchion's not in the way, and we're gonna not need to do that, so. Well, the interesting thing is here, it appears that the rag, it's getting on the rag and staying on the rag and coming off of the fork a lot easier than using the plastic tool once it's got a little saturation and dwell time. So we're clearly, I think we figured out how to crack the code on the BMW glue. Hey, do me a favor, if you've taken this off your motorcycle, whether it's a BMW or not, leave me a note in the description for all of us if we missed a cheat code or if there's other ways. I know about fishing line. We use the trimmer. I've tried in the past isopropyl alcohol, and that didn't work. I've heard acetone works, but I get a little cautious about anodized fork tubes with acetone. Let me know what you figured out. But I say that was a total of about 2 minutes and we're done. We're gonna do the other side with the heat just for fun to see if it changes anything, if it's quicker or worse. And then we'll get this cleaned up properly. So what I mean by cleaned up properly is I don't want to leave the goo be gone residue, so I will probably use a cleaning agent or just warm water and re-wipe these down. And then that already looks 1,000 times better. So hope you feel the same way. Let's try the other side with the heat and see what happens. I'm gonna fire up the heat gun. Let's figure out the right heat setting. So I always use my hand or arm as a barometer. If it's too hot for me, it's too hot. I'm not gonna melt this. I'm just trying to get this to unbond if that's the case. I'm gonna pop my gloves on real quick so that way the time to get to it, it doesn't cool off. It's already cooling off right now. My plastic 065 wires right there. I keep it moving just so the heat doesn't get concentrated in one spot on the fork or the seal. In the tray it goes. Let's see what happens. We're gonna saw with the idea of we're cutting through the tape. I think it's safe to assume, doesn't really matter. Personally, I'd probably skip the heat. This time I'm gonna try WD-40 and just see how that works. The goo gone if we have to. This already looks like the WD-40 is doing a trick too, very much so. Not everything's got to be hard on these tech installs. Sometimes we're doing basic stuff. I like to feel like if we were all going riding together, somebody might pop over and we're going to knock this out in someone's garage before we head out. It's all about us just learning how to do things more efficient and not being afraid to work on the bike. So by no means am I an expert. I think time-wise, we are right in line with the goo gone and ta-da, we're done. So I would say that is as painless as possible, and no part of that would I tell you is difficult, but anything with the finish, and this is anodized finish, I would just tell you the pro tip we talked about earlier is just be patient. I tend to rush, but by not rushing, we came out with a really good resolve. All right, overall, pretty simple. I'm really happy with how the front forks turned out. They look much cleaner. I'll get that front fender put back on. We'll look at the overall view. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Can I think you can do it? Absolutely. Doesn't really matter if you have a BMW. We kind of talked earlier, just make sure that they're glued on, not bolted on. Whether you have a sport bike, a Harley, all relatively simple to do, sometimes even under a minute. I think collectively, without trying to film this, we're talking 30 seconds to a minute on each of the fork tubes. So overall, had a bunch of tools taken out, didn't even need them. So better to have than not, and not need than not have and need. So again, very happy how this turned out. Remember, thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate you watching. Go ride motorcycles.